Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for another Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, a special Trek Watch, but my usual co-hosts, Mitch and Franco, can't be with us, but I've got two of my favorite talkers to join the chat today. Two guys who co-host Serious Star Trek and also have the Serious Star Trek Facebook fan page, or group page, I should say. But say hello to Word Balloon former guests and now on once again. Larry Young and John Price. Good to see you guys.
I feel like I'm time traveling. The once and future guests. Thanks for having us, John. This is a blast. You know,
guys, I'm so sorry I'm late. I had a nap and I overstayed my welcome. I'm like, oh my,
man.
That's Friday, man. It's Friday.
That's the best excuse ever.
That's the reason I appreciate that. That's very good.
My family's on. I've been talking about this for 10 days, but my family's on a trip. They're coming back tonight. So this was like the one day that I didn't have a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day, right? I was like, I got to be on my toes. I
was going to say, do you have to clean and make sure the house is ship shape?
Oh, yeah. They're like about 2 hours away. I usually check sort of religiously check your flight status. And
sure.
Now that we have the LCARS computer in our pockets, you know, it's just it's so funny. It's like computer United Flight 275. You know, it's like,
oh yeah,
we kind of live in Star Trek a little.
Just use the keyboard.
Yeah, well, you know,
all right,
that works too.
Not now, Madeline. I love that guy at the polymer factory and stuff, and he's got the big giant button. I quit smoking.
Oh yeah,
hilarious. See, and this is exactly what I hoped we would talk about. Are some of the intangibles and stuff. I mean, we could talk about the new episode, of course. You guys did it earlier this afternoon. Every Friday, everybody at 3 p.m. Eastern, usually. Dantron, their co-host, and John and Larry get together and do a great show that's always on Facebook, always on YouTube. I don't know if you guys put it on Twitter as well.
Apparently it's on Twitch, which I
I heard.
Yeah.
Today Dan's like, hey, you guys know we're on Twitch, right? Like, no.
What? I was doing Word Balloon on Twitch, and as much as I said like TikTok, I'm like, nobody needs to see me on Twitch. Nobody gives a shit about me on Twitch. I did say that I have decided to join a new platform called TikTok, and that's TikTok for fat people. So I'll be over there.
That can't be real. That would be off. That would be awesome. TikTok.
That'd be great.
I see the homepage already.
I know.
You dancing to hip hop and stuff like that, lip syncing or whatever, like the children do.
John, this always turns into a big like shoe shining thing, but like I'm telling you, I'm just so happy when I get to talk Star Trek with you. And John, of course, John and John. But yeah, it's like it's not a hardship to come and talk about comics.
I felt bad.
Star Trek.
I didn't mean to insult Dan and everything, but you know, we've had this friendship before you guys were podcasting. And
yeah, I don't think you insulted him. He was just playing around. Yeah.
I hope not. And yeah, exactly.
And,
so
and if you did insult him, well then good. I'll get in line and insult him some more too.
Yeah, you can handle it. So the Wee says hello. Can't wait to talk about this episode. Indeed.
I'm with you.
What is it called? The Super Squall? I can't even remember what this.
Yeah, the Serene Squall.
Serene Squall.
The reason I had that at the tip of my tongue is because that's the stupidest goddamn name for a space pirate ship ever. It's like La Serena. Okay, you know
they're not great at naming things. They're not great at naming things.
No, they're not, because like I mean, one of my favorite episodes from the original series, "For I've Touched the Sky and the World is Hollow," Now that's poetry. Last week's your arms are too short to box with God, whatever the hell it was last week. See, Larry remembers that fine musical. of
That's
the 70s.
awesome.
Absolutely, something like that. It's like, all right, guys, nice try. I have no idea, but okay, whatever.
You
But we
know,
got space pirates.
that
got,
sort of bugs me about Discovery, where their episode titles are like so out there, and you can tell that they're
Pretentious
like,
as hell.
well,
try.
let's try to do Conscience of the King and all our yesterdays and this big literary thing, and then they choose something that is based on, something somebody said in response to a 14th century painting about sheep. Like you really have to be an English major to be plugged into that, and so I don't know.
Well, the deep on all that, but
Spock Amok was great, right? Okay, that puts you on notice. Like you may not think it's a good title, but it's a good title for the episode, right? Which is all you can do.
No, I understand. I mean, I liked it. I didn't go nuts the way a lot of others did in terms of liking it. I do think just from the basics, and I know we've discussed this on Facebook messages to each other and stuff, and it may be Stockholm syndrome. I'm not sure. And the bar got so low with New Trek that it's like, at least this was good. I mean, I do genuinely like this show, and generally like this show. But yeah, again, we're nitpickers. We can't help it. I always say, people are like, oh, get over it, old man. It's like, we got to understand the reason why Star Trek is so popular is it's been on nonstop. If you include the original run since 1966, it's been in syndication since 69.
Right.
And it is competing against the best versions of itself, going back at least 55, 56 years. And goddamn, MeTV is running it 6 nights a week.
That's a generational thing. It's this new generation of fans who and I don't even mean that negatively. It's just they have this outlook that, oh, you have to like everything that's made because it is made. It's like, you don't understand Star Trek fandom. A fundamental part of Star Trek fandom is arguing. Like, we argue with each other. We argue, this uniform is better than this uniform. Right. This episode's better than this. Like, literally, the entire fundamental.
This is probably the longest we've gone without telling somebody, I disagree with you.
Right. And it's just weird.
You're right.
I think this happened pretty recently, though. Remember when you got John Price, you got into it with Mike Okuda, and you did that disco sucks shirt, and he's like, that's uncalled for. And his big thing was, these are really good people trying their best, so we should all like it. Yeah. And I couldn't believe.
What a stupid thing to say.
I couldn't believe that. I mean, I totally know where he was coming from, though, because he knows all those guys. And, I say this all the time. Nobody goes to work in the morning going, I can't wait to half-ass it today. You're either going to half-ass it and nobody's going to know about it, or you're going to nail it. You're not going to brag about, walking through shit unless you're like.
I understand that the New Trek guys are trying.
But I don't know why that is.
But that doesn't mean they should be immune from criticism. I find that idea so offensive.
I don't even
literally the whole point is to criticize and to say, hey, let's make it right. And the irony, of course, is that with Discovery, the negative reviews were so astronomically louder than the positive reviews that they did change. Every season of Discovery, they changed based on the criticisms. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. Originally, Spock was never going to be in the show. They were never going to see the Enterprise. Akiva Goldsman is on record in interviews saying that's never going to happen. Then, of course, we get, the reviews happen. They changed the Klingons. They changed the uniforms. They changed it. Anyway, that's the irony, of course, is that everyone's saying, oh, don't complain. Well, complaining works. So what do you want?
Yeah.
Now we exchange new worlds, which everybody likes except me.
Well, yeah. That's all right, John. I don't blame you.
Oh, man.
Again, that's the other thing is, I think World Influence like, okay, we don't have to like the same things. It's okay. But you're right. At the very least, if not argue, we debate. And got all those great, I guess it was the Trek magazine back in the day, but they collected their essays in the Best of Trek. And John, I want you eventually to talk about the Captain Kirk article you saw on, I think it was StarTrek.com. But again, they would pose interesting intellectual questions about, well, what is the Kirk Spock relationship, or the McCoy Spock relationship, things like that, or whatever. Or they'd pick on a race and pick them apart in interesting ways. And now it's, wow, look, hey, everything is all very representation, and also that classic, 60s television was so out of touch. They're embarrassed by James Kirk, and I know that's something that John and Larry, you guys have discussed as well, and it's ridiculous. It's like, and that's the article I'm even talking about, that this person writes, Captain Kirk actually was a good character, and it's like, yeah, we know.
The tone of that article was so breathless. I was just like, oh man.
Well, they've been trying to get rid of Kirk. This is the entire. So look, James T. Kirk is my favorite character. He's my fictional role model, right? He's my fictional hero, right? I have real life heroes, but in terms of fiction, James T. Kirk is it, right? Sure. And I said this back when they announced that Discovery was going to be 10 years before Kirk. There's only two reasons you do that. One, you're going to bring in Kirk and Spock and everything. Or two, you're just going to rewrite everything, right? And that's what they tried to do. They tried to rewrite everything. They're still trying to do it. I mean, Strange New Worlds is effectively a TOS reboot.
It's a whitewash of, and I don't mean that in a pejorative Caucasian whitewash, but it is
in a narrative,
like an actual fence painting way.
Yeah. And it's interesting. And listen, Larry and I are on the same page when it comes to Jess Bush as Nurse Chapel. She immediately commands your attention. How can you not pay attention? Sure. And I do appreciate all the notes that she's hitting. But as all three of us know, that's not Christine Chapel, and that's too bad. It doesn't match up. And also, as I've said before and mentioned it, I guess, in the notes for your guys' show today, T'Pring. It's like they're trying to, now I understand where T'Pring is coming from. And it's like, well, if you really say this is the same universe as everything else, and no, this is canon, it doesn't match up. T'Pring in Amok Time is a horrible person. And she tries to get either Kirk or Spock killed to get Stan and get what she wants. That is irredeemable. That is not, and I understand where she's come from. And the whole arranged marriage of the original episode, that, no, these people haven't seen each other, if at all, since they were children. And instead we got, as Borat would say, sexy time with Spock and T'Pring. And a lot of Vulcan sex. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind that. But it's a shame it wasn't.
Not that there's anything wrong, yeah.
It should be almost been another Vulcan, because that's another reason why T'Pring, when you finally bring her around, could be like, well, you were never faithful to me as we led up to our arranged marriage or whatever. I mean, there's a million other things you could have done,
I just don't have that problem, because it's 10 years from now, there's a difference in that, it could be literally anything. Like, my understanding, and I don't know, this is just based on, watching the shows and reading the paperbacks back in the day, but I thought that he and T'Pring saw each other every 7 years. So it was like 7, 14, 21, whatever. That's what I thought. So it could be this is their like 7-year thing, and that she's trying to like embrace, support him, embracing his human side. It literally could be anything, but something big happens, because you're absolutely right. Like, she's irredeemable by the time we see her in Amok Time. So I kind of don't mind that she's a little softer.
I wouldn't even. Yeah.
Where do you go, right? if you're like, no, I want all your stuff, and I'm going to be boning this guy, and if you happen to kill your best friend, I'm fine. Like, something happened, right? So okay.
I always took T'Pring at very face value. She's like, yeah, I am a kind of provincial Vulcan woman. I'm in this arranged marriage. I don't care for you. We're in this arranged marriage situation. It's not like I'm like losing sleep over you. And by the way, while you've been off gallivanting on the Enterprise, you've become famous across the galaxy. I don't want that life. That's not the life I want. I want to be over here with Stan, who is rubbing my feet after a long day at the rehabilitation center, right? So, I mean, I always took her at face value. It's not that she's a bad person or anything. It's that she doesn't want to be married to a celebrity, which I think is fine. And I think the fact that they're kind of softening to Pring or sexing up the relationship, even kind of it blunts and sort of negates the whole arranged marriage critique built into that episode anyway, right? It's like, do you guys understand that like this is a commentary against arranged marriage? Okay, I guess you don't. Never mind. You know?
Well, I think a lot of things that were, if not still contemporary in the '60s, were close enough to a previous time that you can explain it. And again, now that it's been 60 years or close to it, now it's more foreign. And I don't know if people can accept it. Certainly the American culture can't accept it.
I think that's an excellent point. That like that was just something that it wasn't unknown to people, right? And now it's like I don't think anybody has the maturity to like think through like what an arranged marriage would be on an alien race too, of people who disavow emotion. I mean, there's a lot going on there that removes it from anything other than like John Price's direct reading. I mean, at some point you have to take people at their word, right? So,
well, and ironically, I think if they want to go ahead and do like the very contemporary sort of like we have to give to Pring more agency as a character. It's like, well, she has. That's the whole point of Amok Time is she's expressing her agency. She's like, this is my option to get out of this arranged marriage that I don't like. So here it is. Here's my power. Wave my feminist flag, right? And now they're trying to go all sex positive with it, which is fine. But at the same time, they're also kind of negating her agency at the same time. It's very odd. It's a very odd feminist critique.
At least we got the Freaky Friday episode.
That was a fun episode, absolutely. And it really made me appreciate Ethan Peck a little bit more as an actor, because I do think he was able, as much as it is ridiculous when they're talking a biking, like, can't you tell the difference between us? And it's like there was this level of difference when Peck was playing to Pring and Spock's body.
He totally won me over. I hated him in Discovery, and I was very iffy about him the first couple episodes. But he made like a small adjustment in his voice, or like something. He watched a couple more episodes, and just one episode to the next, you could really tell. I was like, oh, hey, he's Spocking it up. Okay, I'll see what's going on there. And he's great. I love him now. Totally.
No, he's definitely taking it more seriously in terms of like the character. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. No. I agree. I and again, you know, having watched reruns for all this time, can't help it. I just think as much as I'm sure way deep down, and obviously it's still there in the original series, Spock is still dealing with the fact that he's of two worlds. But it isn't, I mean, and they thankfully, at least on Strange New Worlds, you know, it's crisis of the week. My daughter's in the transporter buffer, which is still so stupid. I'm sorry. It's you're supposed to feel such pity for her, but it's like, to me, it's hilarious. And literally, and I'm sure all of us watching are like, well, what's going to happen to that poor kid? Where like, all right, and then on Pooh Corner, Christopher Robin and Pooh. Dad, I think you already read that chapter. Oh, and they finally do it, and then it's great. It's like, wait a minute, how long have I been here? And it's like, man, when she comes back, if I'm her, it's like, hey, asshole, thanks a lot for putting me in the buffer all this time. I know they're trying to cure her or whatever. He's trying to cure her. It's just so much, and it's like so unnecessary, such unnecessary trauma. Okay, whatever. Everyone's gonna have a personal problem. They are at least getting down to business more than Discovery, which almost, you know, their traumas puts them at a standstill. I don't know if I could do this. Really? Well, maybe we should have thought about that when you applied for Starfleet. Get the fuck off the bridge.
It is hard to see through your tears, you know, because you're just, I missed breakfast this morning. Come on, Discovery.
And it's, I want to throw this out there and see what you guys think. As opposed to it being Nurse Chapel, that could be this early person that could be flirty with Spock from his past and mess around. It occurred to me, the episode This Side of Paradise with the flowers that shoot the spores. and that's Jill Ireland's character, and her name is Leela. I'm on Memory Alpha. I gotta
Leia Kamani, yeah.
Atta boy, very good. Larry gets the brass thing for remembering her name completely.
Star Trek, man.
Come on now. Exactly. Leia Kalani. And because that you could really make her this early person that Spock could relate to. You could throw her on the Enterprise, whatever.
Throwing everybody else on the
show
Enterprise.
this relationship.
Well,
yeah, but at least you could like have her in the past, and it kind of could jive with this side of Paradise, where I've always loved you, Mr. Spock, and now you can love me. And then he admits his love for her when he gets hit with the spores, and it's like, yes, I could never tell you before I loved you. And I know that's obscure, but man, we would all I think be doing the Mexican hat dance. Forgive the colloquialism. Any dance you want of any nationality, but it's like, hey, that's what you got to do, man. Is like bring it like that. But obviously, wouldn't have the resonance of what they're doing, rebooting everybody.
I'm with you on that, but I don't think we need to have tie in all these characters. I want them to have more adventures. Like when I was a kid, believe it or not, I didn't really watch Star Trek in the early days. I was like all about Hawaii Five-0 and the Brady Bunch and Wild Wild West. And so I didn't really have this thing about like, I'm in love with these characters. I was like in love with the situation, you know? And so every episode there was like, holy shit, there's a green energy hand holding the ship, you know? Oh my God, there's Space Lincoln. You know, every episode there was something bananas. And I loved it. They took out Spock's brain and his hair is perfect. You know, I like
Spock's brain. I know it's goofy, but I still like it. Yes, I agree.
And so I'm kind of getting that same feeling now.
Sure. Like, the tease for next week with all of them in looks like playing card costumes or whatever.
Yeah, there were these ornate sort of brocade things. They were trying to. My kid and I were talking about it over the internet, and he was like, "Daddy, it looked like Wakanda," and I'm like, "It kind of did," but like, that's the kind of episode I want to see every week, right? Something that just is nonsensical, and 20% of the people are offended, and 20% of the people think is the best thing on television. Like, just roll the dice and do that show. You know, that's why that Freaky Friday episode, I was like, okay, somebody over there knows what Star Trek is, right? Because that doesn't make any sense, and it's kind of, frankly, a little stupid. But, oh my God, every scene, like, every actor has bought into it 100%. Like, that T'Pring girl thinks she's Spock. You know, Pike is trying to make the best of a bad situation. Like, he doesn't, you know, everything about it was like, just, yes, give me more of that. And so, it didn't make sense to canon is kind of getting me, like, I don't like those criticisms. Because, like, canon, first of all, is the Bible. And Star Trek isn't the Bible. So stop that right there.
Well, Larry, I totally, yes. Go, I'm sorry, finish your point, Larry.
No, it's, you know, it's the same old thing.
You're coming at it as a comic books guy where you're used to, I mean, you've said 100 times, you know, there's 40 billion different Supermans out there. It doesn't matter, right? So you're not coming at it from this very dogmatic, no, Star Trek is XYZ.
But I guess I am because, and I literally last Friday had Michael Jan Friedman on, who's written like 11 or 12 Star Trek novels, wrote all the a ton of the DC Star Trek comic books and graphic novels, and even managed to get a Voyager episode on the air, the one with Joel Grey, where he's an alien and he's an elderly man, and he thinks Janeway is his daughter.
Oh, that's a great episode.
That's Mike Friedman.
Friedman, he wrote the DC comics too, didn't he? The DC Star Treks?
Yes, he did. And he wrote, I think I still have it here on the file. It's funny because I saw you guys talking today on your show about some of the great Star Trek novels and stuff. He wrote Legacy.
Oh yeah, that one was great.
The old cover. And yeah, it's a Pike. It's a dual Spock original series story along with a Pike story. That villain on the right is the same villain, comes back, and I love it because it's framed that it's after the events of the Menagerie, and Pike is on Talos 4 again with Vina, living his life, and the Talosians tell him, hey, something's going on with your friend Spock, and he's like, oh, can I do anything to help? And it's great. And plus they remember the original mission where this antagonist first shows up, and I've really gone to reading the Pike novels because thankfully right now, for the most part, they still fit in terms of what Strange New World is doing. And I really think, if you want more, and especially after these 10 episodes, I absolutely recommend Vulcan's Glory. That's the DC Fontana one that kind of shows Una's backstory that they have appropriated for the new show, which to not give DC Fontana credit is such a slap in the face. And I'm glad Rob Burnett reminded us all of that, because he's right. And I mean also the second to last episode with the kid being wired to the to the Great Machine and stuff. That's kind of an Ursula Le Guin riff rather.
Yeah.
And again, no credit to Ursula Le Guin, and it's like, come on, man, cite your source for God's sake. Is this it? I'm trying to find it. Oh, there it is.
That's amazing.
That's right there. Absolutely. So,
hey, John, your comment section is just hopping.
Yes,
every single one has an excellent point. I just think that's great. The Wee's talking about the pirate captains, interesting.
Oh yeah. Let's go back up to that. Yes, indeed.
It didn't click to me as a realistic villain. I think is an interesting comment, because Star Trek's not exactly known for their realistic villains.
That's really going back to Harry Mudd, the original space pirate.
But Harry Mudd's not a villain.
Well, he's an antagonist. You're right.
No, Harry Mudd. He's Jim Rockford in Star Trek.
That is a hell of a leap.
He's an ex-con. He's just trying to live his life. I made some poor decisions.
He's living in the trailer with his dad. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Phone machine. This is Harry
Mudd.
No
Cyrano Jones, that's for sure.
Right.
Friend Kirk. I love that guy.
Yeah.
Henry, I forget his name. His first name's Henry, the actor. Terrific. I think it's Henry.
I love that guy.
And I love that they got him back for the cartoon. I just heard. Do you guys listen to Inglorious Treksperts?
Sometimes Mark Altman's thing. Yeah,
that's Altman's regular show. And
when I have time, I listen to that.
They also have the Ready Room, and it's Lisa Klink, the former Voyager writer, and the guy who wrote the book adaptation of Brian Volk-Weiss's latest Trek documentary series, The Ready Room. And they'll have guests on, and they will do a commentary on an episode. And they had the actual guy that wrote the animated sequel to the Tribbles, More Tribbles, More Trouble, which is pretty cool. That he's still around, and he wrote that. And I believe he also wrote the Counterclock incident, which introduced Robert April. Which
I love that episode, the Counterclock, because space was white and the stars were black. Man, I have such love for the cartoon. Which is funny if you know me, because I hate cartoons.
Yeah, you do.
But the Star Trek cartoon is how I got into Star Trek. I said this a couple of times. My parents were like, "You like this cartoon? There's a real show with real guys."
The co-founder of Filmation, Lou Scheimer, I saw him at his last San Diego that he did before he passed away, unfortunately. And he's like, "Hey, as far as I was concerned, I was making the 4th season of Star Trek."
Yeah.
Animation, schmanimation, I don't care. And they got great writers. And even, as you guys know, Walter Koenig even wrote an episode.
Yeah.
But no,
some of those episodes too are like, you could just film that live action and it would be you wouldn't even think twice about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Larry, I don't know if you remember when it was originally playing. It used to run on Sundays.
I caught it in 1973 on Saturday, the NBC shows, but there was a weird thing. They say that there were 2 seasons, but there really weren't. There was a 26-episode season, and then they played 22, and then ran the 8 new ones with the old ones. So I think maybe that second bit is what went on Sunday. I don't know.
That could be. You might be
remember.
Right.
Man, that was 40 years ago.
No, I read the film. In addition to seeing Lou Scheimer talk, I read the Filmation history book as well. And Andy Mangels, who actually is one of the better Star Trek novelists as well, and occasional comics, he interviewed Scheimer at San Diego and actually co-wrote the book with Lou. So yeah, he's a great. I really want to get Andy on. I like talking to Star Trek novelists because I understand, I can appreciate that that we're nitpicking canon fans that get angry, but I'm like, well, all I know is, man, these guys for 50 years, since writing Star Trek novels in the 70s, they managed to stick with stories that didn't interfere with canon. I always metaphorically say they colored within the lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even Mike was saying that he pitched a story, and the note back was, and I believe it was from Paramount, this star date is wrong. And he's like, I've heard Roddenberry say a million times, we didn't pay attention to star dates. We just didn't. So he changed one digit, and it's like, okay, now it's fine. And he's like, great, whatever. I still get to tell my story. It's so immaterial. But, there you go. Wayne says, Angel reminds me, Captain Angel, of Janet Kidder's or Orion character on Discovery. Sure. I agree with that. Absolutely. Yeah.
There was a weird thing about that actress. Did you know they didn't just paint those girls green, the Orion girls, in the latest ones, this Janet Kidder character? They did a full-on, rubber mask that was green, so they didn't have to paint their actual skin.
Oh, wow.
Somehow making their faces look exactly like their own faces, except just mold it in green, was better for their skin than
I believe
actual grease paint. That's insane. I was like, because the Orions look kind of weird, right? You'll goggle the Google. That was a typo. You'll Google the actor or actress, and you're like, wow, they look like a human being. And then, but when they're Orions, they look kind of like human being Odos, right? And you're like, it's because the angles around their noses and stuff are just smoothed over, and it just kind of looks half wrong, and you don't get why. Your brain just goes, oh well, they're green, and kind of fills it in. But man, I watched a 20-minute thing of them applying the makeup, and at the end of it, she just looks like kind of herself with a black wig on. It was really weird. Anyway, I get fascinated by that behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, no, me too. I wish we got a better after show than Will Wheaton's show. Isn't it great? I would say he's like Flounder in Animal House. So, boy, is this great.
Oh, my God. You're so right. That's what it is.
Yeah, he's definitely
Bring it down. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. It's so, again, I don't know.
I get, man, I'm the last guy to, critique somebody's camera presence. But, A, he's a professional actor. And B, somebody has to have told him, you can't sound like a used car salesman, Will. The people checking in to Ready Room don't need to be convinced that Star Trek is awesome. Right? That's why they're watching it.
The original host of Ready Room, though, was that guy who works with Chris Hardwick a lot, Matt Myra. And Matt was actually was definitely a fan, but he was definitely in a gear lower than Wilson. I think they like the rah-rah, frankly. I think they like it a lot.
It's painful for me to listen to. I watched the Jess Bush one because she's fantastic. I want to hear what she had to say, and now I just scroll to the end and see the coming next week. God bless Will Wheaton. God bless him.
Hey man,
I'm not trying to take his job away. I just don't want to listen to that.
No, I want them to write Wesley well so that we'll enjoy him. And I mean that scene in Picard was such pandering BS. And you guys were talking today about the Deus Machina devices, and all the new shows are just peppered with it. That stupid device on the android planet. Oh, just think of something and it'll fix it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. I mean, they used to try harder on Star Trek. I saw Burnett on Twitter say, tell me you're a real sci-fi fiction fan, and sound off some of your favorite science fiction novels. And you're not seeing that. You're seeing retreads of movies and games and television on Star Trek, and that drives me nuts because Star Trek would pose interesting intellectual ideas, and now they just retread tropes from not only Star Trek, and I don't mind seeing Star Trek tropes, but give me a real intellectual debate question as well. And you guys are chomping at the bit to say something, so I want to let you guys talk for a bit.
I was just going to say you're absolutely right. When was the last time anybody talked about modern Star Trek and any philosophical questions that it raised, right? That was literally every episode of the old Star Trek.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of miss that. I wonder if that isn't a fault of the show, though, and is a fault of the audience. Because they don't teach cursive in school, man. So they're not going to teach platonic exploration of, men serving together in the icy cold of space or whatever.
These are professional writers.
Yeah.
Like, okay, fine. If they got 4 schmoes off the street and we're like, hey, go write an episode, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll give them a pass for only knowing Transformers references. But these are professional writers who are given keys to one of the golden franchises of pop culture. Like, read a damn book. Like,
well,
I hate. I have so much hate in my heart.
I just love how it's making you inarticulate. It's like,
because I don't know. So I mean, yeah, I wish Will Wheaton would go away forever. Like, that's it. That's my comment on Will Wheaton. I think Captain Angel was a terrible name for a character. I saw her deception coming a billion light years away, which is fine. That's fine. The Cybok reveal was stupid. I don't like. I did like I like Anson Mount is basically just in don't give a fuck mode as like a captain. He's like, yeah, I'm the cool captain. What up, Erica? Take us to war. Bam, bam. So when he breaks into pirate speak, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, but I mean, what original ideas are they even going to come up with? Like, they don't know what they're doing. Like,
well, they've thrown out something with La'an's whole. I got teased my whole life for being descended from an augment and blah blah blah. 2 things. One, I don't mind them having an honest debate, and now that Una has been revealed also as someone that was genetically enhanced and stuff, I don't mind them having the debate in this time era of, are we doing the right thing? Are we doing the wrong thing about our general policy for genetic manipulation? 2 things. One, in their first episode, they've already contradicted that when they had that first contact, and instead of just giving them plastic surgery to look like the aliens, that I guess it's okay to do temporary genetic manipulation.
Change their DNA, right?
Yeah. But also, I rewatched yesterday. I just so happened because I was watching BBC America visiting a buddy who came out of the hospital, the Bashir episode of Deep Space Nine. And they really went into the whole debate. And it's obviously 100 years later, and the eugenic argument is still in place. So I really don't want La'an and Pike and Una to present their case to the Federation, and they have this great change of heart when it comes to the augments. But I don't mind the discussion happening as long as you give the Starfleet point of view the deserved attention that it has, because it's been really interesting. There's a great YouTuber named Jesse Gender, a trans person, and they are like, well, this attitude by the Federation about augments really speaks to bigotry. It's interesting that they take that point of view. Again, I see it as it being the 1960s when they first wrote this, and that they were afraid of Nazism and also our own American experiments in eugenics, the Tuskegee experiments, and some of the other things. And it's like, no, there was a real fear about genetic manipulation and what it could lead to. And Spock himself says, well, if you give somebody a superior mind, it may give them superior desires, and all of a sudden, we're a superior race to the average humans and all that. So I think that's, I think that's an interesting thing to look at. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think it's pretty clear that that's what, that it's, you can read it both ways, right? I mean, that's clearly
that's the key.
Yeah,
that's the key. Will they give the other side an equal voice, or will it just be, well, they're wrong? And it's like, okay,
I mean,
whatever.
They're telling a story, right? So like, just my preference as an audience member, I want the writers to pick one side, because just presenting the argument is going to be good enough, right? And then I don't know, you should technically have one character represent one side of the argument, and another character represent, and then have them come to an understanding. But like, I'm just glad that they were trying something new. Like, maybe this isn't the character we need, but you need that kind of character in Star Trek. They've tried to do it a few times with recurring people, like Captain Koloth from Tribbles. David Gerald said that was the intention, that he would be like, he's the Klingon opposite number traveling the same. Like, you just kind of need something like that. There's an evil leaper in Quantum Leap. You know, it's an easy way to have internal conflict without, like, you know, breaking the bank every week. I don't know. I love it. The only thing I don't like, I'm with John. I don't like her name. I don't like the stupid ship's name. But, like, you know, everything else it's kind of cool. I want to see what she's a sassy space pirate, right? I'm a big in the tank guy for characters that are in the story, but they're not really of the story. You know what I mean? Like Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, or Han Solo's the one everybody knows. Like, he's clearly doing something else when Obi-Wan and Luke are looking for somebody to fly him to Alderaan. You know, there's a whole thing going on. And I love characters like that. Phoebe was like that in Friends. Like, but like, I don't know. You got to see at least what she did, you know? So those characters are just, I love those characters. And so I think that Captain Angel might be one of those people. I could see them doing like a whole episode like 2 years from now. It's just like something she's doing, you know?
Well, I have no doubt.
Maybe it's not her, but they need somebody like that.
No, I have no doubt. And maybe she'll come back as quickly as, given that they've introduced Sybok now at the end of the episode, maybe she will be there before the end of this season. But I think it's a given that we'll see her again, especially when she got away.
I think that's what Akiva means when he's like, we're doing episodic stuff, but, you know, there'll be some through lines.
Sure.
So that's like a really easy way to do a through line.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah. What do you guys think of Sybok possibly being back? I'll be honest. I've been yelling, bring us Sybok since Discovery, because it's like, all right, fine. Now all of a sudden, Spock has an imaginary sister. Fine, make Sybok matter. And truly, we'll talk about how they how they have so far depicted Sybok by description on this show, but just in general, Sybok coming back. What do you guys think?
Well, John sort of touched on that he doesn't care, but I'm like over the moon because they totally redeemed that character. Like, most people think 5 is the weakest one. I don't really. I don't think it's the weakest one. Maybe of the. I don't know. I'm not that big a fan of Star Trek 3.
Well, I like
what needs to be redeemed of
the fact that everybody thinks that's a dumb episode, right? So just throwing Sybok in there legitimizes Star Trek 5. Like, any criticism you have is now a legitimate criticism. It's not like, oh, that's just the dumb one. Like, nobody talks about Star Trek 5. That's just the dumb one Shatner did. Ooh, what's God need a starship? There's never any, like, the fuck was Sybok coming from? Like, and David Warner, like, is there any science fiction film that he's not in? You know,
Love that guy.
Oh my God. Well, and David Warner, all of David Warner's Star Trek performances, especially, is it Gul Madred, the one that captures Picard? There are 4 lights. Yeah. But I, last year, right after Inauguration Day, I had Lawrence Luckinbill on the show because he made a graphic novel of his one-man play that he used to do of Teddy Roosevelt. And this great publisher, Dead Reckoning, that does a lot of military comic books, published his thing. And in the invitation to interview him, they're like, hey, he's more than willing to talk about Star Trek 5. And I'm like, good. And honestly,
that's all I want to hear.
Well, he was terrific. And I'm actually going to release it as a separate one-on-one. And it was just a phone call. I mean, the gentleman is close to 90 and in good health, but just he is close to 90. He's married to Lucy Arnaz, Lucy and Desi's daughter, and a really interesting guy. And he's had a hell of a stage career along with his on-camera career, even more accomplished, I think, on stage than on camera. But I'm like, and I meant this when I said it. I'm like, Sybok is an interesting character. He was a worthy counterweight to both Spock and Kirk.
Absolutely.
And I like this idea of here's a Vulcan that rejects all the teachings and went his own way. But to be honest, I was disappointed by Strange New World saying, "Oh, he was a son of Syrinx before he married, or out of he and Sarek and a Vulcan princess had a child out of wedlock." And I'm like,
yeah, the out of wedlock thing wasn't good.
No, because honestly, what I'd like to see, and I was saying this during the Discovery years, give me and you guys are thinking I'm kidding, but I'm not. Give me a dinner table scene with Sarek, Amanda, Sybok, Spock, and Michael Burnham.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Michael Burnham and
God.
Sarek are arguing, no, the Vulcan way is best. And Sybok like, well, that's not my feeling. And Amanda going, well, Sybok is right. Here are the good things about humanity. And Spock is in the middle just watching this debate happen. And I'm
That's
like, makes Sybok better. And it's like,
oh man, and not have Spock have a word of dialogue.
well, just or at least during
like
that
right there.
What do you think, Spock? You've been
cells
silent
in the
during this
room,
whole
John. Nice work.
conversation. Yeah. Well, again, we think about this stuff too much. So
True.
I just kind of like I don't mind the out of wedlock thing because they don't actually mean, Christian wedlock. They mean out of the bounds of actual, legitimate Vulcan stooping.
But doesn't it mean then that like Sarek's kind of like, deadbeat dad?
Yeah, but this is the guy who when's like, hey, why'd you marry the human? Goes, seemed like the logical thing to do.
Right.
Like, that guy's gonna have unprotected sex with a Vulcan princess. And he probably had a spoonful of Vulcan Coke when he did it.
I don't see him abandoning Sybok. It makes Sarek seem like a cad, and also kind of flies in the face of, all right, he's not gonna acknowledge Sybok as his son, but he'll take in Michael Burnham.
I see. I know. I will. Yeah, show me those episodes.
Wow.
Fucking explain that. I'm cautiously optimistic. I know Price is like they'll just fuck it up.
That's kind of. I'm with John on this one.
My dog eats
They'll
my
just
shirts.
fuck it up. They'll just fuck it up.
Well, you
Well,
can
as
always.
long as the guy who plays Sarek doesn't laugh, as long as that doesn't happen.
They're gonna recast, right? I mean, they have to recast.
Oh, I doubt it. I sincerely.
They're not
doubt
going to recast.
Oh,
Yeah,
no, that guy's awful.
it.
He's not great.
Again, it's not his fault.
I agree. It's not his fault.
He just doesn't.
They clearly
need somebody.
directed him the wrong way.
Here's one of the things that Star Trek is up against in the modern day is that the original series, those old scientists, they all look like they were fucking exploring space. You know what I mean? Dr. Boyce looked like he had a really bad cigarette habit. And like those are the guys that are going to be out there. And like modern Star Trek, everybody looks fresh and cleanly pressed. And the guy who plays Sarek just does not have the crag that Mark Leonard's face has that you just need to believe that that's Spock's father. Like even who's the guy in the JJ movies? I'm blanking on his name. Ben Cross. Even he had the square jaw. I used to front movies, but you still kind of believed. I mean, he's a good looking guy, but you still believe, okay, that's Spock's dad. He had some gravitas. I don't even know this new guy.
Well, I always point to that great scene in Star Trek 4 where I just want to make sure because someone asked if James Sloyan is, or not James Sloyan, James Frayne. He's like, isn't that guy dead? No, I don't think so. I don't think James Frayne is dead. The guy who played Sarek in Discovery. But
yeah?
Mark Lenard in that.
No, I think Louise means Ben Cross because Ben Cross died.
Did Ben Cross pass away?
Yeah, that's probably what.
Oh wow! And Mark Lenard certainly is no longer with us. But Mark Lenard in Star Trek 4, and I probably have told you guys this before as well. That great scene after, okay, Kirk, we're gonna bust you back to captain. You're getting a starship. That's the end. Everybody applause. And Sarek's like, my son, and he's like, Father, it was good for to come see me. And he's like, of course I'm gonna come see me. You're my son. And he's like, if memory serves, I believe I was against your joining Starfleet. I feel I may have come to that decision in error. And he's like, these associates of yours, they're of good character. And I just love where Spock just goes, they're my friends.
And I was crying when I saw that the first time. And just
Sarek's reaction. It's that country club Vulcan. He can't help himself. He's like, oh yeah, that human bullshit of friends. And he's like, yes, of course.
The great thing though, right at the end, Spock and Kirk just kind of peel off like planes in formation. that whole scene. I remember sitting in the movie theater opening day wearing my little Star Trek shirt. It's like, fuck yeah, Sarek. Fuck yeah.
But I mean, that's the thing.
Anyway.
It's like he never lost his aristocratic demeanor as Sarek. And John, you're right. I mean, whereas James Frain smiles, and it's like this is 10 years before Journey to Babel.
He
and
says his own name wrong too. Fuck those Sarek guys or however they say it. Like, come on.
That's so funny. I like how Rob always stresses Sarek. I always say Sarek because I guess because I'm from Chicago. Hey, nice. Yeah. Over by there's Sarek over there. You know, I don't I don't know. But I got into this on your guys' Facebook thread where we were talking, and I said, I think Ethan Peck has gone a notch above Zachary Quinto playing Spock. And this guy Alan, who's on one of your fans, is like, well, I don't know, man. I like the way Quinto played it and stuff. And I said he's too emotional. And he goes, when the guy's example was, well, show me the cage and show me where Spock is in emotional. It's like the cage is not canon. The cage was the first attempt, and the network
it's kind of canon though, right? I mean, they used it for Menagerie.
But you can't use the cage as justification. This is Michael Chabon's problem. He tried to use the cage as justification for his whole bullshit. And it's like, no, just no. like common sense needs to prevail. Common sense needs to prevail.
Yes, no, I agree.
The cage is a thing that exists, but it's not
this whole canon thing though just gives me the soft penis because it's like, it's if it's on TV, it's what you people are calling canon, right? So, like, I don't know. Are we supposed to think Sarek's name?
The cage wasn't on TV.
They contradict themselves occasionally with episodes, but
I just think you should roll with it, right? It's like if something contradicts it, well, that's how it is now. Because otherwise, you end up like now, and people going, "I'm not watching Star Trek Discovery." So, like, you can't. If you're CBS, you can't present it that way. You can't steamroller people into liking you.
John made the point earlier today on your show. I've been making the same point for weeks on my show. If they had just been upfront with the old timers and said, look, it's a soft reboot. Yeah. There are going to be things about the past that we will embrace. There are things about the past that we feel it's okay to change. And we hope you'll be along with us. And just be a little more. But instead, it's canon. Yeah, of course it's canon. It's like,
I think they kind of tried to do that actually in the beginning where it's a visual reboot. And it's like, I mean, how they presented it was so just bullshit nonsense.
But they have, ever since then, they have doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on the, no, this is the prime timeline. This is canon. This is what, and it's like why, like, people, you can not like the JJ movies, but nobody complains that the JJ movies aren't canon because they explicitly said, hey, new universe, we're doing a new Star Trek.
Yep.
And everybody went, fine, right?
Good.
If they had just done that with this, it's like, this is Star Trek now. Sorry, all the old guys you liked are dead. Like, everybody would have moved on.
Yeah, I agree.
Wesley likes a line of mine.
It would have solved 90% of the complaints. Absolutely. And like it or not,
still complain about the Klingons, but at least we wouldn't complain that they don't look right. It would have been, hey, we can't understand them.
Well, like it or not, fandom chooses to label this stuff, and I love the NU New Trek label for this era of new programming. And it's like, yeah, like it or not, man, you guys have made these choices. And I don't like Lower Deck. I mean, I like Lower Decks better than I did the first season. I don't love, and there are a handful of episodes that I really do appreciate that were exceptional. But and I really like Prodigy. I do like Prodigy. But I have to say that Strange New Worlds is the first live action show that I've liked. And I do think Lower Decks is getting better, but I still hate Mariner.
Because I'm afraid that now that Strange New Worlds is bringing the Star Trek, I'm kind of afraid I'm not going to like Lower Decks as much anymore because of my like I was just holding on to something that floated, in the ocean. Like this is good. Okay, they have stupid arrowheads on their soles of their shoes. That's all right. I'm here for it. That's great. I mean, look, I'm wearing the shirt.
I like the characters of Lower Decks,
but I'm afraid.
I'm not afraid of that.
I'm afraid though because of what happened with Orville. Like when Orville came back, I went, I don't need you anymore. Like you were the fat girl that was keeping me in between girlfriends. Like,
hilarious. I like Orville, and I agree with you guys that I think the show only got better in its first and second seasons. But I got to say, I'm really enjoying it, John. I know you feel like it's kind of slipped away from it. Yeah, well, Larry, I hear you guys, but I also kind of understand, and I heard David Goodman, who's one of the principal writers and wrote that great Futurama Trek parody, and also wrote for, I believe, Enterprise. But a really great writer, and he's one of the main Orville writers. And he said when Seth first wanted to do Orville on Fox, he wanted it to be a half-hour parody, straight-up parody. And they looked at the budget and said, it's too expensive to be 30 minutes. We need it to be an hour. And then they really had to pad. And I think Goodman and some of the other writers are like, we could still drop in humor, but you've got the bones of a good action adventure show as well. It wouldn't hurt to lean into that. I think they have. I thought this most recent episode was okay, and it didn't bother me. I like the first two better. I really like the first one, and they actually pose an interesting intellectual conversation about suicide and Isaac and all that. But I like the second episode where the alien, the humans morphed into aliens, and I thought it was a good suspense, like bottle episode where they're stuck on the ship with aliens that want to eat them and stuff, and change them. I thought it was fun. I'm enjoying the Orville.
I just need one scene where it's like, can I fly drunk? I just need one scene, because that's all you just described. Some really heavy, bitter shit, and I don't want that in my escapism. I'm like your friend that thinks Alien is not a horror movie, and just based on the fact that I hate horror movies, but I love Alien, so I have to explain that to myself somehow. That it's just a good science fiction movie, and there's an alien that comes after him, and it's kind of scary, I guess. But it's not a horror movie, because that's what would happen when an alien's coming for you, right? So I have to do that with all this other stuff, or I can't enjoy it.
Well, I should explain. Okay, so
I love Orville, just not the new.
I'm a huge Orville fan, right? And the thing I liked about the Orville was it was normal guys and girls and aliens on like a mid-level ship just screwing around in the universe, right? And it was, I know everyone was like, oh, it's not as funny as Family Guy. It was never supposed to be as funny as Family Guy. Right? No. But in the process, they developed these characters that had interesting characters, and they had such good rapport with each other. And you would have, I don't know any actors' names, but you would have the pilot guy making quips, and you would have the other guy being like, hey, can I still drink Coke up here?
Yeah. Just give me some of that.
So in the process, they would kind of bumble their way into these Star Trek-ish situations, right, and kind of have to get themselves out of it. Now, and season 3, it took like 5 years for them to do it. Which again, Rona, I get it, whatever. Yeah. But it's high budget, like increased to high budget. The episodes are longer; they're all over an hour. It's the special effects have gone up a notch. The uniforms have gone up a notch. Like everything is up, right? The production, all of it is up. The writing is good, but to me, it's just lost that. It's lost that personality. Like it's lost that character quips and all that. And they still have like one or two here and there, but it's in the middle of this life and death situation. And it just doesn't resonate. Like, every Thursday we go and my wife will be like, oh, is Orville going to be funny this week? And I'm like, I hope so. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I certainly hope it'll be funny, And so this last episode, I'm zoning out in the middle of the episode because, there's a plot twist at the end that, obviously I didn't call that plot twist. But like 5-10 minutes into the story, I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. Got it.
Well, I thought the high school was funny, and I thought
it was funny. It was, and it was funny, and stuff like that was fine. But I feel like season 1, season 2 Orville would have been better in that.
I just
situation.
think you could
I don't know how that is.
You could take that script and shoot it as a Star Trek, right?
Oh yeah,
and that's why I didn't like it, because there was nothing about that made it an Orville episode.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, that perfectly. Oh my God, we beamed down to a planet and there's a 21st century high school. That's a fucking Star Trek setup. Great, except you're the Orville, right? You need to take that Star Trek setup and do something Orville-y with it.
You know which one I liked from second season, where they have the iPhone and Gordon constructs the woman from her iPhone.
That's a great episode.
Oh yeah, I love that episode.
I thought that was a really clever episode. I don't mind them.
Tim Russ is in that episode. Yeah.
Who is?
Wait,
Tim Russ?
Tim Russ. Yeah.
Oh, is he really?
I remember that. That's fantastic.
I don't either. That's great.
When I talked to Frakes, I talked about the second season episode he directed, and Marina Sirtis is in there. I know. Yeah. I can't name drop.
I meant to tell you, thank you so much for doing that.
I love
that. Are you kidding? Oh my God.
That was just such a great episode. I loved every minute of listening to that. I was I don't have a lot of time to sit down because I'm usually sitting in front of the computer anyway. But I put it on in my car and I drove around listening to it. And man, just hearing that guy go, yeah, that was fucking crazy, made me so happy. Well, he was completely at ease with you, And I was like, this is one of John's best interviews because, you're up to date on the subject matter, and Frakes was really happy to speak to you because he was like, oh, here's a guy who knows what I'm talking about. I don't have to go in through all that schmaltz, and I can say the real stuff. And that was just a powerful episode. So right on.
That really means a lot. Are mine and Frakes' mutual buddy Warren Drummond, who's a big Hollywood storyboard artist? He's like, I can get you Frakes. He's a really good guy, and he's a really good friend. And I'm like, I would love to talk to Frakes. And it was great. And we were and it really warmed my heart how casual he was.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And literally, we're both calling each other John, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And I cracked the joke about Tom Riker being stuck in prison. And I said the Birdman of Cardassia, and he laughed. That meant a lot to me. But I was going to say about the Orville, what I liked was that was a really good episode that he directed in that second season, where it's Bortus's race. And here's an interesting intellectual question of this race does not want to acknowledge its females, period. And they're an important part of their union, like their federation, because they are a weapons supplier for this ongoing battle they have with their enemy, the Krill. And if you want to stay an ally, you let us do what we want to do. We don't interfere with your shit. Don't interfere with ours. That's an interesting problem. That was really cool. And I even love that they used 9 to 5, the Dolly Parton song. Mm-hmm. And the women are like, this is a warrior song. That was
right. And that's how you Orville up an episode, right? It's like, oh, we have this Star Trekian problem where we have a Federation member who we conflict with. And the solution is Dolly Parton.
Yeah,
right. That's how you Orville an episode.
Right. That's missing from this season.
This season, they're all directed by Seth MacFarlane and I forget the guy's name, but it's only the two of them. They're directing the whole thing.
Yep.
Which Frakes talked about in your interview. I listened, and
I appreciate
it. And I think it's to a detriment, right? Because as slick as it looks and as well produced as it is, they're just missing that kind of
they took the personality right out of it.
I think Disney, and I've said this a million times lately, and especially even in anticipation of this third season, I think this is a sleeping giant that if Disney handles it right, this could be a great franchise. And really, we don't need Star Trek. We got our own thing here and everything. And it's funny, I also yesterday watched a bit of Galaxy Quest. It was on one of the cable channels yesterday. And it's like, this is I understand what you guys are saying. I wouldn't mind a little more humor to balance. But I think after 2 seasons, I like them kind of taking themselves a little bit more seriously. It reminds me of the end of Galaxy Quest when you just see the opening credits of their new show.
Right.
And all of a sudden it goes from Cheeseball show to all right, now we're taking this a little more seriously now because we were there. and it's like just their faces as they show the crew and everything, the stars. It's like, all right, and I kind of like that, and that's how I feel about Orville, where it's like, all right, they've established these characters. Now, I'll even say I felt up and down about that first season of the Orville. Now I love every episode of the first season because I understand these characters better.
Yeah. I learned a new Galaxy Quest fact today. That was cool. The Stan Winston's makeup company and costumes and stuff.
Absolutely.
They had the gig for the Arnold Schwarzenegger Planet of the Apes that was going to happen right before the Tim Burton Marky Mark
I didn't
one.
know that was in development.
Yeah, Oliver Stone and Arnold Schwarzenegger almost made a Planet of the Apes update. Which, oh my God, I want to live in that universe.
Oh God,
just for 2 hours. I just want to see the flick. I'll come back here. I got a great life. I just want to see that movie.
A single bullet theory is foolish human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, monkeys are talking to me. What is happening? Anyway, Stan Winston did makeup tests for it, and there was this great thing. They had all these articulated things that were controlled by the movement of the actors' faces. They were like drilling shit into their jawbones, just crazy stuff. And then they lost the gig, but they had done all this like sort of pre-visualization, and they just moved over to the Krill on Galaxy Quest. They just used all that engineering.
All right, so whatever they're
called, rubber stuff on the outside.
The lizards from Galaxy Quest. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like, that explains like all their R&D was paid for by another project, right? So this is walk into this one and have perfect aliens right out of the gate. So
how about the Last Starfighter, guys? Are you fans of the Last Starfighter from the 80s?
Oh yeah, I'm fans of Catherine Mary Stewart. So
me too.
Me and the various parts of my body are all. That's why we are fans of Catherine Mary Stewart.
No, she was adorable. Absolutely. I'm bummed that they never made a sequel of Galaxy Quest, and I'm bummed they never made a sequel of Last Starfighter, because both of those are fantastic.
I would have liked, what? There's a thing you want to reboot. Just give me a new Last Starfighter TV show right now, and have Lance, what's his name, play the Music Man alien character.
Centauri.
Call it a day, right?
Well,
there you go. Give me that show.
I believe on the bonus features of the DVD, they have an interview, and they had said that, if they were ever to go back to it, it would be about his and Mag's son.
Yeah, their kid, right.
Yeah, which I think would be great.
Yes, please.
And
Lance, yes, that's who it is.
There you go. Very good. Well done. And I had forgotten Mags's name, Mary, whatever, 3 names. Mary hyphen.
You got me doing Mary Elizabeth Stewart, Mary something. Yeah, Mary Elizabeth Stewart. Man, she was in Night of the Comet with Chakotay. I love that movie too. That movie was bananas. Another movie that's not a horror movie. That's not a horror movie. That is The Night of the Comet.
Absolutely.
Completely different thing.
Hilarious.
It's got girls with guns in it.
You're killing it. Yeah, anything else? Because really, I just wanted a general let's bullshit about Star Trek thing. I wanted to, if anything, compliment what you guys do on Serious Star Trek every week, what I do on my Trek Watch with Mitch and Franco and stuff, and just have a bullshit conversation about Star Trek. This is why I like talking to you guys.
Yeah.
And hey, I want to make sure I say his name. I'm going to scroll back and find him. The guy that was on your show today, Brian. Brian, if you're still watching, I'd love to have you on sometime and talk about not only Star Trek, but how much you look like Ricky Gervais. And I say that in a complimentary, not in a negative way.
Love it.
That's pretty funny.
So I got 2 X's on you, I'm sure. So I'm not trying to shame you at all with that comment, but yeah.
Shaneman's great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Obviously we can't speak for him, but I'm sure he would be thrilled to be on your show.
Yeah. And Dan, I'd talk comic books with sometime because he's got a great comic book interview show.
Oh yeah, we're lucky that we have all you guys are friends.
Yeah,
we're lucky. Talented bastards, all of us.
Well, it's happened to me with some of Rob Burnett's co-hosts and stuff. I've had Mark Altman on my show, and I didn't have Campy on my show, but during COVID, I did help put on a couple online conventions, and one of my other hosts had Campy on to talk about that documentary movie he made about trailers.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Campy is a good guy. I really I respect him. So
we published one of Altman's books back in the day.
The oral history books.
No, we published a comic when we were doing comics. We did a Elvis Van Helsing book that he and Steve Crozier wrote, and a bunch of other cats worked on. I didn't really talk to the artist, but Steve and Mark were my intros there. They were producers on what was that Cinemax show? Femme Fatale.
Femme Fatale, sure.
And I've known Steve forever, so they're his producing partner. So yeah, Mark has always been like a super supporter of what we're doing.
No, he's a
super nice guy. Yeah, super.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. No, Rob was my connection to Mark and everything, and I've loved if everyone watching the 50-year mission that came out, 5 or 6 years ago, and that's the Star Trek oral history books that Mark co-wrote. Those are fantastic, and you get some really, man, you want dirt. Really interesting stuff about, I didn't know at the time that Major Kira and Dr. Bashir got together, and that's when Kira got pregnant. Vistor got pregnant, and I didn't know it was with Alexander Siddig's baby. That's amazing. Shit like that. It's like, ooh, okay.
That book is fantastic, especially with the world now. Because sometimes it's hard to sit down and like read a novel for a while, and there's so much, just like every single fact in there is like mind blowing. So you could read like a page and a half like while you're eating a sandwich or something, right, and feel like you have got shit to think about for the rest of the day.
Yeah,
that's a fantastic book.
That period between the animated series and the first motion picture. And all the startups and the Philip Kaufman movie that it didn't happen, Planet of the Titans, and some of the other ideas they had for films, and certainly Phase 2. All that's fascinating. Another guy you guys should try and get is Brian Volk-Weiss, who just made the Center Seat documentary series that was on the History Channel. And he's the one who, his company's called the Nacelle Company. I mean, he's such a Star Trek fan. He's got a million toys. The toys that made us on Netflix and the movies that made us.
I was like, why is that guy's name sound so familiar? Yeah,
really
the toys
cool
that
guy.
made us. Yeah.
Really, and loves Star Trek. And then it was, I had him on to promote his other shows, and finally we're like, hey man, I'd love to talk Star Trek with you. He's like, oh, anytime, man. And I'm like, all right, that's our next conversation. And we did.
Isn't that cool? Like Star Trek fans just will drop what they're doing to talk about Star Trek.
It's true. So I'll let you guys go. I know it's big,
Well, real quick, I want to tell.
Oh, please, John. I just want to
Mark Altman's story. So please. I don't know Mark Altman at all, right? But a couple years ago, I'm at an academic conference, the Eastern American Studies Association conference, and I'm presenting a paper on Star Trek Axanar, which would go on to win.
It's an award-winning paper.
It won the award that year at the Eastern American Studies Association. Guy in the audience comes up to me afterwards. He's an older fella, right? And he comes up and he's like, "Oh, I loved your paper. It reminded me so much. I had a student. You ever heard of a guy named Mark? What's his name? Altman. Mark Altman. You ever heard of that guy? He knows Star Trek stuff too." And I'm like, "Mark Altman? Yeah, I know fucking Mark Altman. Like, yeah, dude. Like." So anyway, I don't remember the guy's name, but
so it was one of his professors or something.
It was one of his professors when he was in college.
Come on, isn't that awesome?
Whatever the fuck university? Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like when I met Burnett at a San Diego convention, and I've loved Free Enterprise since it came out, '99. And the first time I saw it, Mark was or Rob was at a San Diego comic convention panel. And I went up to him afterwards and I said, "Hey, I go, my name is John Suntress. I do a podcast called Word Balloon." He's like, "Oh, I've heard your show." And I'm like, "Oh, that's so nice, man." I go, "I love your movie. That's amazing." And of course, also the other thing that he had gotten on the air beyond Free Enterprise was 5 episodes of Femme Fatales. He directed it like 5 of those Cinemax dirty noirs, basically.
Mark Altman is the nexus of all realities.
Well, and they hire their friends, and the cool thing is they hire their friends that are talented, that know what they're doing. I mean, I heard David Gerald, the Trouble with Tribbles author, talk about how writing staffs are made these days. And it's like, it's a lot of, nepotism or friendships and stuff. And it's like, that's okay if they know what they're doing and they can handle a job. But it's so obvious that so many of these new Trek writers are not sci-fi people, and they really don't have any new and interesting ideas.
They're drama people.
Yes.
And it shows.
That's being kind of soap opera people.
Yeah.
They're not even like real drama. It's all soap opera,
Yeah.
Hey, nice to meet you. You ever see it? Well, my parents died. Okay, sure.
Yeah. So I said this, I think, on our show a couple weeks ago, but I just want to say, for maybe John, you have a different idea, but like I'm very conflicted with Strange New Worlds, right? And I don't know if it's my fault, right? If I've just been so indoctrinated in negativity for so long, because I mean, and I don't even mean that in like a self-deprecating way, but I mean like, I got thousands and thousands of hits on dozens of articles saying how horrible Star Trek Discovery is. I've spent years and years and years detailing how bad these shows are. Can I not get out of my own way? That's kind of that's the mental process I have to go through when watching, because I watch Strange New Worlds and I'm like, I like Anson Mount. I like Rebecca Romijn. I like the things that are happening. I don't like the ship. I'm never gonna like the ship.
Yeah.
But I like the plot. I like this. I like that. I like Captain Angel. Like, I like all these things.
What you like?
But
the
I
beginning,
still sit there, and I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Do you like
with
the
me?
beginning?
What's wrong
the
with
new?
you? I don't know.
Do you like the new space Final Frontier stuff? Because I don't like the ship either, but the beginning made me kind of like it.
The beginning's all right. Yeah.
It made me go, okay, this is you kind of got the idea in the old show that the Enterprise was where they were, because that's how TV worked. And then we're just sort of like, okay, Gilligan and the skipper are going to be at the lagoon, right? You just kind of don't think too much about it because every story needs a setting. But like now it's like, it's almost worse with CG because your brain is going, that's not there. That's just too perfect. That's exactly what antimatter bus-out ramjet energy thing looks like. And it really should look like broken mirrors and Christmas lights, right? And so there's a remove where I'm like, nice try, computer fanboys. But when they have the intro and they're way close and you don't know what's going on, or those like hanging chads from the 2000 election, no, their lights coming on. Okay, that's cool. And they sort of like reveal it in a little stripteasy kind of burlesque way. And so by the end of it, I'm like, all right, that's the ship. I'm not gonna like you, but that's the hotel we're staying at for the next.
Well, and I would answer John that I think we take this stuff at face value. We have an initial reaction, and then the show sits with us for a few days or even weeks or months. And I mean, that was kind of my thing with Lower Decks. I'm like, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this. Well, I like these episodes. And now I'm like, well, it has gotten better. I'm glad they're using the other characters more than just Mariner. And I really hate Mariner's attitude. It's like, as I've told you guys, she's Sergeant Bilko. And she's the Sergeant Bilko.
I love you don't miss an opportunity to shit on that character.
Well, by the way, I also hate Mariner. Anyway, back on topic.
Yeah, but and I would say that see how you feel about Strange New Worlds when it's done and it's rested for a while. And no, I don't think it's bad. Because again, everyone's like, well, Strange New Worlds, wow, out of the gate, it's so good. And it's like, respectfully, it's not out of the gate. These are the same people, and it's taken them 4.5, if not 5 years, to come up with a formula that we all like. And we were yelling at them about this from day one. And now finally they're doing something about it. So that's why, no, I mean, again, I like Strange New Worlds a lot, but I'm not going to give it a pass if the rest of the season sucks or whatever. It's like, no, you've had plenty of time. It's the same people. We're not jerks. We're not yelling at you just to yell. It's like, no, Star Trek it's our comfort food.
Well, and I think that's a big misconception too, is like, the haters, quote unquote, we're mad because we want it to be good.
Right.
We don't want it to be bad. We want it to be good. So, our critiques, I can't speak for everybody. Obviously, there are bad actors out there, or,
Yes.
not actors, but,
Bad-
there are
bad-
bad apples out there.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But for me, anyway, my critiques are always, hey, if you stop doing this thing, your show won't suck. And
Yeah.
so, especially with Strange New Worlds, I think in my head, the biggest compliment I've given it so far is that I can say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to give them a chance to fix the things that I think aren't right, but they have a chance to fix them and get them right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that we can talk about specifics instead of just going, fucking Star Trek sucks. Yeah. And then if you want to talk about it, maybe. But like now it's like, I just did not dig on that little kid protagonist thing where he has to die. But that's a specific critique of the story. And it's like, I just want to grab all those people that used to call me a hater and go, you fucking bastards. The reason I'm talking about this is because I'm a Star Trek lover and I want to love some Star Trek. And you're not giving me Star Trek to love. You're like, oh, well, it's not like old Star Trek. It's the modern day. Yeah, I know, but there's a way to do it.
As if we don't watch other shows that are also quote unquote modern.
Yeah.
Like I can binge watch Stranger Things a billion times. Is that episodic? No. Like, get out of here. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that and be like, hey, if other people are having ambiguities about Strange New World, I'm with you. That's all.
I understand.
The only ambiguity I'm having is my sexuality because Anson Mount is so fucking hot.
He is dreaming.
The hair. The jawline.
Look at that hunk of man. Are you kidding?
Absolutely. No. He's got even his Black Bolt in Doctor Strange. He's got the Black Bolt mask on, and it's
I just love that.
You can't have that. You can't hide that face, Mister. There you are.
I just loved he was smiling. Like you could just tell he's like, oh, I fucking finally got the real costume. Haha.
Yeah,
I
really.
have to die? Well, it's fine. That's cool. I'll come to die. That's great.
That's so funny. Absolutely. Yeah. The only reason I wanted to wrap up was Larry. If you got to get going to meet the fam.
I have like another 10 or 15 minutes. It's not a.
I mean, it's all your. It's all.
I can. Yeah, I mean, I really enjoy talking with you.
Likewise.
So
100%, man. No. Really, John, I'm glad that Burnett made me aware of your Medium articles, and now are your essays, are your thoughts mostly on Serious Star Trek's Facebook page? I mean, are you still doing the Medium articles, or?
Yeah, I have no inspiration to write. It's a big problem in my life because I have to write a lot and I just don't. And it's like I have ideas for articles in my head. I already have the clickbait title for Orville season 3. What was it? It was Orville season 3 plot. It was something funny. I don't remember. I'll think of it.
I have the same problem, John.
I think I see your problem. Yeah.
No, I'm.
Yeah. See, this is my problem. This is.
When I had no choice, that's when I did my most writing. When I didn't, I mean, this is pre-internet, when I didn't have a broadcast platform to spout off on, and that's when I wrote my articles for Boxing Illustrated and Ring Magazine back in the day and covered boxing. And once I got back into radio, my writing dwindled because of it. And even doing this podcast, I mean, I've got friends who are like, "Do you have enough material for a book?" I'm like, "I have over 1,000 interviews. I have enough material for like $100. Don't kid yourself." And I truly mean to write these transcriptions of a lot of my interviews, especially the comic book ones, because I've been able to catch these creators at interesting times and really get what they're thinking at the moment. Larry, in the same way that we loved Amazing Heroes and Comics Journal and Comics Interview, show stuff like that, which really was my inspiration for doing Word Balloon in general. And, the great thing is I'm finally doing the kind of talk show I always wanted to do in broadcasting. And I'm able to do it now, on the internet and just do it on my own. And it's so funny talking to Michael Jan Friedman and some of the other writers that I know that, put out novels. It's like, we don't need publishers anymore. We can self-publish. And I'm like, yeah, you can. And again, that's a neat thing right now.
That just happened in the news, right? There was some guy that used his Kickstarter and he got like $4 million, like right off the.
Oh yeah.
It's some niche fantasy thing I wasn't aware of, but like Price is Right is laughing like he's already bought 3 volumes or something. I don't know.
It's a familiar story these days in crowdfunding, where these
I mean,
creators
my buddy Ken just collected his monkey's name is Jennifer stuff, and that's it's something that maybe a more traditional publisher wouldn't okay, but he sold as many as he would have through the direct market anyway.
Right.
But all he had to do is fulfillment, and he got to keep all the money. Like I see why that works for people.
As a publisher yourself, Larry, are you getting cues from crowdfunding? I mean, the AIT Planet Lair obviously has been a great imprint over the years.
Yeah, thank you. We I'm old school, so when crowdfunded started, I sort of like snobbishly thought it was like not begging exactly, but like a little gaming the system, right? Like part of the bar to clear to hurdle in publishing is that you have all these things to make sure that you're either serving an audience or doing something quality or some value in some way.
Yeah.
But if you can just like collect your 7 years of Agents of Shields column, like and then I mean, I don't know. It just seems a little precious, right?
No, I get that because
I'm glad it works for people, and there's a whole bunch of awesome stuff that whenever I talk about it, it always sounds like I'm capping on it. I'm absolutely not. There's a whole bunch of awesome stuff that exists because of this platform, so it's great. I'm an old man, and it seems like a lot of work.
Hey, I got it
want to do.
Radio people. I got it from both radio people and new podcasters when I started doing commercials on Word Balloon, and especially the new podcasters like, "How dare you?" And I'm like, "Sorry,
right.
I don't know. I think my content's worth something. I don't know."
Right. And plus, you can't pay for rent in Quatloos, right? So, I mean,
if only.
What a funny thing that is. Like, what a funny criticism that is. Like, how dare you try to get money for the service you provide? It's like,
here's my 12-step confession regarding Quatloos. I've been scouring YouTube for those terrible softcore porn Angelique Pettyjohn films of the early 70s. That's for everybody who doesn't know her name. That's
my god.
Tana or Shauna, whatever her name is, from the Gamesters of Triskelion, the woman in the aluminum foil bikini.
Yeah.
The one where Kirk is putting his boots back on, and when the camera finds him again.
No, I thought that was Drusilla. Maybe,
it could be too.
Maybe it's both. Maybe he's putting his boots on.
I think it is both. There's a great, and it's ironically from those anthology short stories collections that Pocketbook used to do, the Strange New Worlds anthologies, where fans, they're amazing, great short stories. And there's a great short story where, is it Shauna or Tana, the character that Pettyjohn plays?
Yeah, Shauna, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And it's like movie original crew era, and she's now an ambassador of Triskelion.
That's kind of cool.
Awesome.
And a Starfleet contingent's coming to visit the planet again, and it's Kirk, and she's like, "Do you remember me, Jim Kirk?" And he's like, "Oh, Shauna, how could I?" In that great Bill Clinton sort of way. Of course I do, baby. Don't worry.
Right, I can't eat mashed potatoes anymore because of you, honey. Speaking of,
it's sweet. I'm sure others would say, "God, what a misogynistic story." But I'm like, no, it's a sentiment. Come on, man, old girlfriend, and also it's like, yeah, of course I remember you. It's cool.
I love those Strange New Worlds. It's basically presaging fan fiction, right? Because it wasn't the marketing of that it was all fans. But the fucking amazing thing is that that's fucking 100% proof that fans know Star Trek and can write. It's like Armageddon, right? It's easier to teach oil drills guys how to be astronauts than it is astronauts how to be oil drillers. And that's fucking Star Trek. It's easier to 100%. Teach them how to write for TV than it is to understand Star Trek because of that right 100%.
There. There was even a short story where Carol Marcus and Jillian from Star Trek IV have a Marine story that they have to work together, and they're talking about, cool. I understand you were with Kirk as well, and it's great. It's fun, So no, and it's, I mean, they're all those stories are totally memorable.
How many jokes?
Yeah, they had one where it's Amanda's sister, and Spock is going to Earth because one of his Earth cousins have passed away. And she's like, I never understood why, Amanda left Earth to be with Sarek, and it's his aunt, and he's coming to see his human aunt, and it's this really great, like, this woman has never been able to connect with her Vulcan nephew, and it's great. It's fantastic. I mean, these are great stories, man. Strange New Worlds, everybody.
The one I remember most, I forget the title of it, but this is I read this 40 years ago, and it's Commander Kor's, he will be a vegetable. What was that thing called? The mind eraser. The sifter.
Yeah.
They catch Kirk, they mind sift him, and he ends up in like 1960s Earth in an insane asylum. And Spock is made captain of the Enterprise, gold shirt and everything. Just reading that, I was like, what the fuck? Spock is wearing the gold shirt. They've really given up on Kirk. And but Spock and McCoy are secretly like just doing all their Starfleet stuff, but trying to find Kirk. And he's lost in time and he's mental. Like,
yes.
Like how did they not do that for a movie? That was amazing.
There is a fan video production of that story.
Oh, you're kidding me.
On YouTube. I will send you the link.
Yeah, I have to see that.
And I wish I had known her. I would have provided it for everybody here now. But it really is, and it's a good.
Do it in the links.
Yeah, and it's really, everybody. It reminds me of some of those great early Twilight Zones.
Yeah, that story is bananas good. Like everything about it, like the hallway he's looking through and the light that's streaming in, and it's like, it's fucking bananas good. Yeah. And it was probably some guy whose job was like, Jiffy Lube oil guy who just fucking knows Star Trek so well, and he'll never write anything again. But that one thing he did is fucking perfect.
It's so good. Yeah. And really it's like
let those guys write Star Trek episodes.
And real fast, I'll mention it after this. A lot of the fan productions remind me of going to see a good college dramatic department put on a play. And it's like, no, this isn't Broadway, this isn't Hollywood, but you appreciate the effort and it's good enough. And absolutely, like a lot of those James Cawley, Vic Maganera, whatever, however you say his name. I like those. I really do like this. How about those recent animated where they take
those are great
and they make an iteration of Voyager? Oh, so good. So, the pink Borg cube. Are you kidding me?
I can't get over it.
In the Voyager episode, I think it was the Voyager one. They've got a crewmate kind of like Eric's,
right?
It's a frog.
And I don't know
if that's that conservative meme of the frog, but it just killed me that it's like, all right, here's an alien that there's no way now they'd be able to do it on live action. But yeah,
I couldn't get over how they captured Tim Russ in that filmation style. And I'm looking. I actually paused it. I looked at it. I'm like, they just like that's Shatner's nose. It's like they just got this generic face and recolored it and like tilted the eyebrows. Holy shit, that's too hot. Like I couldn't get over it. I was like, that guy's working some magic. I don't know.
I hope he's going to do a DS9.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, boys.
All right. Thanks so much, John.
I know.
Last as usual.
John, Larry, if we had the time and the wherewithal, we'd be doing this on a weekly basis. But also, I will point to your guys' excellent show, Serious Star Trek, every Friday on Facebook, on Twitter, apparently on Twitch.
Possibly.
I kind of like filling in for Mitch and the boys. I feel like a Mission Impossible guest star.
Well, that time George Takei in one of the early episodes pops up and everything. He's part of the crew. Ooh, I'll be there. Franco's going to go on vacation to Martha's Vineyards, and Mitch is going to be busy with convention season. So I might ask you back next month when it's heavy convention season. So, John and you as well. So as always,
I'm going to be
mutual admiration. You know that.
I'm going to be at the San Diego show.
Oh, I wish I was, but
not that week.
I'm doing Fan Expo Chicago. The weekend after that is San Diego. Then it's Terrificon in Connecticut. That's Mitch's show, and I'll be there. And then the week after Terrificon is C2E2 in Chicago. If I did all four shows, it would kill me. It would kill me. I have no doubt.
Yeah, that's a schedule.
So I had to take San Diego off. So,
too bad. That's too bad.
But, all right. Well, I don't know anything else.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, all right. Otherwise, everybody watch John and Larry on their own show next Friday, and this coming Tuesday, I'm sure we'll do a Trek Watch with Mitch and Franco and get more into some of this stuff. But until then.